Good morning, Team Alabama. We are ready for a little more of Anne Frank today. Please find it on your Chromebook on page 490. We are at the top of page 490 and we're ready for scene 2. Scene 2. It is early morning, July of 1942. The rooms are bare as before, but they are now clean and orderly. Mr. Van Daan, a tall, portly man in his late 40s, is in a main room, pacing up and down, nervously smoking a cigarette. His clothes and overcoat are expensive and well cut. Okay, we're going to write some facts now about Mr. Van Daan. Okay, and when he says he's tall and portly, portly means fat. So you can add portly to your vocab. But a fact for Mr. Van Daan would be that he's tall and heavy. And Mr. Van Daan is in his late 40s. And it says he's pacing up and down, nervously smoking a cigarette. So he's kind of an anxious type, or at least in this situation he is. And he likes to smoke. His clothes and overcoat are expensive and well cut. So what do we know from that? Okay, that's inference. When you take a couple of clues and you piece it together, what do we know about him? He's wealthy, okay? His overcoat is expensive and well cut. So it's not cheap clothing he's wearing. Okay, Mrs. Van Daan sits on the couch clutching her possessions. Okay, so she's into her things. A hat box, bags, etc. She is a pretty woman in her early 40s. She wears a fur coat over her other clothes. So they're going into hiding, and Mrs. Van Daan is wearing a fur coat. Okay, so let's write some facts about Mrs. Van Daan. Mrs. Van Daan is obviously married to Mr. Van Daan. She likes her things. It says she's clutching her possessions, meaning she's all worried about keeping her stuff with her. Okay? So an inference might be is that she's worried about her things or that she likes her things. Okay? She is a pretty woman, so she's not ugly. And she takes her fur coat into hiding. When they're hiding from the Nazis, she's taking a fur coat. Okay, Peter Van Daan is standing at the window of the room on the right, looking down at a street below. He is shy, awkward boy of 16. He wears a cap, a raincoat, and a long Dutch trousers like +4s. At his feet is a black case and a carrier for his cat. Okay, so what do we know about Peter Van Daan? He's shy, he's awkward, and he's 16. Those are all facts that you can put. Peter Van Daan is shy. Peter Van Daan is awkward. Peter Van Daan is 16. And he brings a cat with them to the hiding place. The yellow Star of David is conspicuous. Conspicuous means easily seen. Okay, so the Jews had to wear a yellow star on all of their clothing that marked them as a Jew. Kind of almost like a brand. Mrs. Van Daan, something's happened to them. I know it. Now, Curly. Mr. Frank said they'd be here at 7 o'clock. He said, they have 2 miles to walk. You can't expect. They've been picked up. That's what's happened. They've been taken. Mr. Van Daan indicates that he hears someone coming. You see? Peter takes up his carrier and his school bag and goes into the main room, and Mr. Frank comes up the stairwell from below. Mr. Frank looks much younger now. His movements are brisk, his manner is confident, and he wears an overcoat and carries his hat in a small cardboard box. He crosses to the Van Daans, shaking hands with each of them. Mr. Frank, Mrs. Van Daan, Mr. Van Daan, Peter. And then an explanation of their lateness. There were too many of the green police on the streets. We had to take the long way around. Up the steps comes Margot Frank, Mrs. Frank, and Miep, not pregnant now, and Mr. Kraler. All of them carry bags, packages, and so forth. The Star of David is conspicuous on all of the Franks' clothing. Margot is 18, beautiful, quiet, and shy. Okay, let's go ahead and put some facts down about Margot then. Margot is Anne's sister. So Margot is 18 when they first go into hiding. She's beautiful and quiet and shy. She's kind of the opposite of Anne. Anne's loud, and she is not shy at all. Mrs. Frank is a young mother, gently bred and reserved. She, like Mr. Frank, has a slight German accent. Mr. Kraler is a Dutch man, dependable and kindly. As Mr. Kraler and Miep go upstage to put down their parcels, and parcels are packages, so you can add that to your vocab also. So Mr. Kraler and Miep are always bringing the Franks and the Van Dans things from on the outside. They're the only ones that are safe enough to like work downstairs in the business below, and they kind of sneak in the stuff to help them with. That's the only way that the Franks could live in the attic or the Van Dans and get things delivered to them without being seen or caught. Mrs. Frank turns back to call Anne. Anne! Anne comes running up the stairs. She is 13, quick in her movements, interested in everything, mercurial in her emotions. She wears a cape, long wool socks, and carries a school bag. Okay, so let's write some facts about Anne. Anne is 13. She's quick in her movements, meaning she's quick to everything. Okay, and she's interested in everything. Mr. Frank introducing them. My wife Edith and Mr. and Mrs. Van Dan. Mrs. Frank hurries over, shaking hands with them. Their son Peter and my daughters Margot and Anne. Anne gives a polite little curtsy as she shakes Mr. Van Dan's hand, and then she immediately starts off on a tour or investigation of their new house, going upstairs to the attic room. Miep and Mr. Kraler are putting the various things they have brought on the shelves. I'm sorry there is still so much confusion, Mr. Kraler says. Please don't think of it. After all, we'll have plenty of leisure to arrange everything ourselves, said Mr. Frank. Miep to Mrs. Frank. We put the stores of food you sent in here. Your drugs are here, your soap, your linens here. Linens mean, that's another vocab you can add. Linens are like the towels and the sheets and things like that, the linens. Thank you, Miep. I made up the beds the way Mr. Frank and Mr. Kraler said, she starts out. Forgive me, I have to hurry. I've got to go to the other side of town to get some ration books for you. Okay, and ration books are something that are used during the war, and you exchange them almost like a ticket or a piece of paper for whatever they are giving as the daily food supply. So today, they may be giving beans, or they might be giving corn. Whatever it is they're giving out. The official definition at the bottom of the page is